Guys, welcome back. For today's video, I want to go over the second way that I really like to implement fibs, and that is by using the daily range as a possible pullback entry to give us a better justified level to enter into. And what I look for here is the first thing that I really like to see is, we need an impulsive move. Off start would be preferable, but sometime early on, and then we need a nice retracement. As we see here, on Qs, we have this tweezer top, and it retraces, let's see, from the top here, it retraces about $2. So, a decent amount. So in that case, this is a case where I would use it, but I need to see some sort of retracement in order to justify where the high is of my fib. First thing I'm gonna do, flip over here to this fib. I'm just gonna go, in this case, I'm just gonna go high to low. I don't like how, in my opinion, how TrendSpider works with that. I think that's a little bit backwards, but that's all right. Anyways, the settings I have here on this is I've turned on the 0.5, the 0.618, the 1, 1.68, and then, so on and so forth. But in this case, using this daily range here so far, we have a nice retracement. I'm looking for this zone here in between the 618 and the 0.5 for a potential entry spot, right? Perfect. So in this case, we get this nice retracement. We're below all of our EMAs here and VWAP. So in this case, potential for reversal for sure there. We see this tweezer bottom here set up. This here would be a very good spot for me to enter partially. The reason I'm only going to enter partial size here is we're below all EMAs and VWAP. And in that case, there's 3 more resistances to go to even get back towards this target here at the top of our daily range or the high of the day, right? So in this case, enter here. And then once we overcome all of our EMAs and VWAP, that's where I would look to add in more size. In this case, cool, maybe get a quick scalp. We don't lose VWAP, so here's another good spot to enter in. Awesome, cool. And we see here what a big problem is. There's no separation between our EMAs and between VWAP, especially these EMAs here. They're pretty close together, no space, no one's really one out. But in this case, when I'm entering on a pullback here, my first target is going to be the top of this zone, or the prior high of the day. In some instances, we won't get there. And in this case, we're going to have to use our knowledge of price action to kind of scout plays, whatever. But we could also tell just from how close these EMAs are together, how fast this price can move. In this case, might get a nice move, whatever, cool, so on and so forth. But I'm really looking for that 0.618 to the 0.5 to enter in, and then that target right here at the new high of the day. Looking at some examples here of how to use this, and this is one that I wouldn't really use this on, and a big reason being, we do have an okay move, but to start the day, we're very, very choppy here on Apple. And if we run our fibs just from high to low, whatever, I'm going to reverse this just because it's making me mad. Anyways, reverse this. If we look here, the zone's not very big. And in this case, it's very, very choppy. We don't really get any great pullbacks to those 0.5, 0.618 because there has been no impulsive move here off the bat. So in this case, I don't like using fibs with this. We need to see that impulsive move with a nice retracement. And it's definitely harder on choppier choppier price action here like we see on Apple. Fibs do work better on the higher up time frames, but I trade off the 5, and I like to use the daily range as this potential for a pullback entry. To give some more examples, let's look at Amazon here. As we see here, we get a nice impulse move here off open, bullish engulfing of that last candle, and then we do get a nice retracement. So in my case here, I'm gonna flip that to there. Cool, I got this, got my high and low of the day, and now I have this zone to look for here between, which ends up being the orb high. So in my mind, that's a very, very significant level. So I get 2 decent entry spots, even a third here, and we see still pretty choppy price action, not the best day at all, but we do hit that first target here at the 1 or the high of the day. Awesome right there. And here's a very, very good example on BA here of there's separation between our EMAs, we never lose trend, and we had a high impulse move off open with a nice retracement. Get a nice hammer candle here, just barely above that 618 level here at 138.9. And then we can scale in here on this second arrow. Once we reclaim VWAP, we reclaim both EMAs, and we see we're starting to get some distance here. You know, it's definitely a little bit harder intraday as there's usually less volume, but I love to use this as an intraday pullback technique once we have that impulse move off open. The first, hour, maybe hour and a half, I like to use that orb high and low paired with fibs to give me some ranges. But I like to use this a lot as giving me a defined zone I'm looking for, but I also need to read price action. I need to read EMAs to get an establishment of, what is the intraday trend. Now let's look at a flip here. So in this case, Lucid, not very impulse move, but we do get this impulse move here. And then we get our pullback. Our pullback starts down here. So in Lucid's case here, we got this high way up here, low way down here. And in this case, this price action's already happened. I'm not worried about that. So I'm gonna wait. We're choppy in here. Do I like these entries? Maybe here off of a double top of this previous zone, but I'm really looking for that pullback to the 618 or the 0.5. In this case, we have a nice one here. Two okay entries very late in the day, so we could get a little bit of a run here. But as you see, this zone has turned into a very, very big zone. We're denied twice. Shooting star candle here, we have a shooting star here. This one here, the only reason that we were able to, tick back up a little is the fact that we held that 9 EMA. In this case, we can add here partial size, of course. We got the EMAs below us, the 9s over the 20, indicating that there is a little bit of a bull run here. But this second candle, we can scale in a little bit more as we see that there has been a close below the 9 EMA, indicating a possible flip, start to curl back down. It'd be a very quick move, very late in the day. And lastly, let's look at AMD. AMD, another impulse move off open. So I'm just going to use this, go to this high here. And as we see here again, we get a tweezer bottom bouncing right off VWAP. That right there is money. When we have another level of confluence, another level of support below, this adds conviction to the play. In this case, we don't get up to our 1. And why is that? Well, choppy price action on SPY, choppy price action here. We can't really hold these levels early. And we also see, sellers are stepping in here. The only change is we start to close back below our 9 EMA, and we can scale in along the way. Decent little move, but we can just see how well these levels work for a pullback. The key, got to have a nice impulse move, got to have some sort of trend reversal. Preferably it's a short-term trend reversal. And then we're looking, this just gives me a defined zone. We add confluence if it hits off VWAP, one of our EMAs, whatever it may be. But this is how I really like to use it. And I love to use it later in the day with intraday trading for a possible push into power hour, or even, just using those as my newfound support levels to look for a pullback entry. If things happen, like in this case, we lose both trend. Okay, what am I looking for? We're still above VWAP, and I have these defined levels as potential entry spots for a pullback entry on calls.